Hey, welcome back. It's Jason Walter here, and here's your latest housing market update. I'm going to switch it up a little bit today and go over 4 major cities in the US and talk about what we're seeing right now in their housing markets. The cities I chose today are actually Tacoma, Washington, Denver, Colorado, Seattle, Washington, as well as San Francisco, California. So obviously Tacoma, Washington, and Denver, Colorado were migration hotspots. A lot of people moved there during this pandemic, and especially over the past couple of years. And also Seattle as well. Seattle saw a huge increase in home prices compared to the early parts of this pandemic. In stark contrast, San Francisco basically was just the opposite. A lot of people moved out of San Francisco into more affordable areas such as Sacramento, for example. So there's some big differences here, and have a look at this. This is what Redfin posted back in the last half of June for May 2022 stats. So I'm going to be sharing in today's video what has changed. This is the share of houses with the biggest share of price reductions as of May 2022. Provo, Utah was at the top of this list at a 47.8% share. So approximately 48% of houses listed for sale in May 2022 in Provo, Utah have had price reductions. Number 2 on the list was actually in Tacoma, Washington, and that was followed by Denver, Colorado. All these had home price gains well above 40%. I mean, look at Provo, Utah, increasing by 65.7% for the median sold price in May 2020 to May 2022. But again, I'm focusing on Tacoma, Washington, and Denver, Colorado, gains of 41 and 47% respectively. And again, I'm also going to be looking at Seattle, Washington. The share of price drops as of May 2022 was basically 41%, and almost a 47% increase in home prices. Again, that's from May 2020 to May 2022. But I'm going to give you guys an update. In stark contrast, look at San Francisco. Home prices only increasing by 8.3%. The share of price drops at 28.5%. So let's first talk about Tacoma, Washington. Then I'm going to be talking about Denver, Colorado, then Seattle, and then San Francisco. I'm also going to add some chapters below. So if you guys are interested in just learning about San Francisco, for example, then you can fast forward, of course. And by the way, if you guys have a city you want me to cover in a future video, then please leave me a comment below because I always talk about every housing market's different. I generally talk about national trends and also trends we're seeing in California. But if you have a particular city that's a major city within the US, then please leave me a comment below. I'd be happy to make a video if there's enough interest in that topic. So let's first talk about Tacoma, Washington. And by the way, I have not looked at the stats here, so I'm looking at this for the first time here. So in Tacoma, Washington, I actually had to Google to find out where that was actually located. So it's a population of about 200,000 people as of 2020, and it's a city just south of Seattle, Washington here. So just a little bit south of Seattle, very close there. Also a spot where a lot of people moved to during this pandemic here. So let's first look at new listings in Tacoma, Washington. And by the way, I'm looking at 2022, which is a black line right here. And 2021 is the orange line. The blue line is 2019. Obviously, I'm excluding 2020 because it was a completely unusual year, to say the least. So new listings in Tacoma, Washington for the 4 weeks ending July 24th are actually down 7.9%. Basically on par with 2019's levels. So they have less new listings compared to last year. Let's look at pending home sales. Look at that. Pending home sales, wow, look at that. Down almost 32% compared to 2021 and well below 2019 as well. That's pretty remarkable. And has been going down really ever since May of this year. So the pendings have been decreasing greatly, slight uptick this most recent week, but a big decrease compared to 1 year ago. Let's look at active listings though. Active listings in Tacoma, Washington. Whoa, look at that. Oh my, wow. That's probably the biggest increase I've seen in active listings in any metro across the United States. Don't quote me on that. That's the biggest one I've seen. Anyways, a 59.37% increase of active listings, which is of course housing supply. The total number of houses listed for sale is up 59% compared to the same time period in 2021. That's pretty nuts. Almost surpassing 2019's levels as well because right now they have about 2,500 houses for sale. Look at this. Compared to last year, they only had 1,600 houses. And in 2019, they had almost 2,700. So wow, a giant increase of active listings, which is pretty remarkable because if they have a giant increase of active listings, if they had a really strong home buying demand, also you would see a lot more pending home sales and of course a lot more home sales. But we're not seeing that, at least for pendings, because pendings have decreased greatly, decreased 32% from 1 year ago, even though they're seeing this giant increase of active listings. So let's look at houses that actually has sold. Again, a lagging indicator. Look at that. That's crazy. So down 23% in the number of houses that actually sold for the 4 weeks ending July 24th. So they're seeing not enough new listings or less new listings hitting the market, but they are seeing a giant decrease of pending home sales and also a giant increase of active listings as well. And so that's telling me that home buying demand is decreasing greatly here in Tacoma, Washington. And let's have a look at price drops. I imagine this is going to be a high number. Let's see. Wow, look at that. That's absolutely crazy. Absolutely skyrocketing really ever since April of this year. So the share of price drops right now are at 13.1%. And as you guys all know, if you guys follow the channel, you have to multiply this by 4 or 4.3 in order to get the approximate share by month of price drops. Wow, 56%. So the listings right now in Tacoma, Washington, 56% of them have had price drops, which is pretty remarkable. Let's look at home prices though. So here's the asking price. The median asking price has basically been decreasing just a little bit, but still about 13.36% above last year's levels. Compare that to last year, we were up almost 18%. So a little bit less compared to last year, but still at very high levels. And this is why we're seeing a giant amount of price reductions. Inventory has skyrocketed, pendings are down, and therefore, because buyer demand is decreasing, we're seeing a lot of price reductions here. So let's look at houses that actually have sold though, and they'll move on to the next city here. So the median sold price is up 12% from 1 year ago, but this time in 2021, the median sold price increased by 21% compared to 2021. Now it only has increased by 12%. All right, last slide I want to share with you guys regarding Tacoma, Washington, because I was kind of playing around with the latest trends here. Take a look at this. This is the average sale to list price ratio. In other words, a ratio of 100% or 1 would mean that home sellers are selling their houses on average for their asking price. Anything above a 1 or 100% basically means that home sellers are selling their houses for more than asking price. And in contrast, of course, the ratio is less than 100%, they're selling their houses for less than their asking price. So let's take a look at this, because ever since April of this year, this ratio has been plummeting in Tacoma, Washington, and the current levels right now are actually below 2019's levels. So the ratio right now is 100.8%. So in other words, about 101%. So on average, home sellers who are selling their houses and not doing price reductions right now have sold their houses for about 1% more than their asking price. But have a look at how this compares to 2021. Last year's levels were at 104.5%. So about 105% last year. So last year at this time, home sellers were selling their houses for 5% more than their asking price. Now it's only 1%. So that was Tacoma, Washington. Some very big changes over the past few months, to say the least. So let's have a look at Denver, Colorado, and see what's going on in their neck of the woods. So new listings are actually on par with 2019, just like Tacoma, Washington, down 9.3% from the same time period in 2021. Let's look at pending home sales. Pendings are actually down, but not down as much as Tacoma, Washington. Down still 27% compared to 2021. A very big drop really ever since April as well, or basically April and May. So we're seeing a drop of pendings, but let's look at active listings. This is housing supply. Wow, look at that. So active listings are up 40.3%. Wow, so they have a lot more active listings right now. And therefore, home buying demand is decreasing because we have a lot more houses listed for sale right now. So if we have 40% more active listings right now, you would assume if home buying demand was still very, very high, pending home sales would have at least increased, but they're actually moving in the opposite direction, down 27%, despite the fact that active listings are up 40%. Pretty astonishing there. So let's look at the total number of houses that actually have sold, a lagging indicator in Denver, Colorado. So they're down 22.2% in the total number of houses that actually have sold compared to the same time period in 2021. So they have less houses that sold compared to 2021, but also compared to 2019 as well, despite the fact they have a big increase of housing supply. So because they have a lot more houses listed for sale right now and also a big decrease in pendings, I'm guessing price drops are also going to be increasing as well. So let's have a look at that. Wow, look at that. So price drops 14.1%. That's pretty astonishing. So around, what's that, 14.1. Let's multiply that by 4.3. So right now, the share of price drops are basically 61% right now in Denver, Colorado. What a difference compared to the past couple of years here. So 14.1% by week. For whatever reason, you have to multiply this by 4. I don't understand why they do that, but that's how they report it. So 14.1% compared to 2021, the share was 7.6%. So they basically have twice as many price drops right now in Denver, Colorado compared to 2021. So quite the turnaround compared to last year and also compared to 2019 as well. Let's look at home prices though. So the median listing price is at $595,000, a 14% increase from 2021. But in 2021 at this time, home prices were up 17.5%. So they're still going up in Denver, Colorado, and also been on this downward trajectory here. But despite the fact that asking prices have been decreasing, they're still seeing a giant amount of price reductions in Denver. Let's look at the median sold price in Denver. Look at that. Wow. So they went from $617,000 in May. Now it's only $592,000, a 10% increase from 2021. But this time in 2021, home prices increased by 18%. So I'm guessing the sale to list price ratio is also decreasing as well. Let's have a look at that. Average sale to list price ratio, yeah, basically going straight down. The share right now is 101.0. So basically, houses selling for about 1% more than their asking price for the houses that are selling. Compare that to 2021. This time, the share was 104%. All right, so that was Denver, Colorado. Let's have a look at Seattle, Washington, and then we'll have a look at San Francisco, California. So Seattle, Washington for new listings, basically on par again with 2019. But down about 10% from this time in 2021. So we're seeing less new listings hitting the market in Seattle, Washington. Let's look at pending home sales. Pending home sales are down, wow, look at that, down 35% compared to 2021, far below 2019 as well. So they have far less contracts being signed between home buyers and home sellers. Let's look at active listings. I'm guessing active listings are up as well. Look at that. They have far less contracts being signed, despite the fact that active listings are up 52.5%. That's pretty remarkable. So they have 7,305 houses listed for sale right now. Compare that to 2021, they had about 5,000 houses for sale. So they have way more houses listed for sale compared to 2021, but a lot less compared to 2019. But despite the fact that they have less active listings right now compared to 2019, which is obviously pre-COVID levels, I'm guessing still that they have a lot of price reductions in Seattle. Wow, the share of price drops in Seattle, Washington, absolutely skyrocketing. I mean, more or less kind of like leveling out a little bit ever since June of this year. But the share of price drops right now at 10.5% by week. That equates to around a 45% share by month. So approximately 45% of the listings in Seattle have had price reductions. Pretty astonishing given the fact that this is much higher compared to 2019 and 2021, despite the fact that they have less houses listed for sale right now compared to 2019. So the share by week is 10.5% right now, but in 2019 it was 6.7%. 10.5 this year, but back in 2021, it was 4.4%. So they have more than double a share of price drops right now compared to last year. Here's something else I found to be very alarming when I was looking at this trend here. Take a look at this. Here's active listings in Seattle, again, up 52% compared to the same time period in 2021. So they have a lot more houses listed for sale, but take a look at this because here's the number of houses that actually have sold. Homes sold. Look at this, down 30.8%. So they've seen this giant amount of housing supply, yet home buying demand is plummeting because they're seeing far less pending home sales and also far less homes sold as well, down 31% from 2021. So let's have a look at the average sale to list price ratio in Seattle, Washington. Let's have a look at that. Average sale to list price ratio. Wow, look at that. Approaching 2019's levels right now. So the ratio right now is basically 100%. Home sellers selling their houses for their asking price on average. But compare this to 2021 at this time, the share or the ratio was about 106%. Wow. So 1 year ago, home sellers were selling their houses for 6% more than their asking price, and now it's basically the asking price. Here's another alarming trend I actually noticed just now, because look at this trajectory over the past several months. So for the 4 weeks ending, let's say April 3rd, the ratio was 1.11. So on average, home sellers were selling their houses for 11% more than their asking price. But fast forward 4 months, the ratio is 100%. So a big decrease compared to the 11% over the asking price on average, compared to, on average, home sellers selling their houses for the asking price. So let's look at home prices in Seattle, Washington. Then we'll look at San Francisco, California. So the new listing price, or the median asking price right now, is up 14% from 1 year ago. The median asking price is $792,000, but this is down significantly from the peak of around $836,000 that was set in the middle of May of this year. So prices are up 14%. Back in 2021, at this time, home prices were up 12.4%. So we're seeing a lot of overzealous home sellers, I'm guessing right now, because the market has definitely shifted here, and we're not seeing this giant amount of home buying demand here. So let's look at home prices actually have sold, though. Again, a lagging indicator. Look at that, going down. So the peak was basically in May, when the median sold price was $850,000. Now it's $796,000. So a decrease of about $50,000 in a span of about a few months here. So up 7% compared to 2021. But have a look at this. I'm guessing this is going to be pretty different, because at this time in 2021, home prices were up 20%. That's pretty crazy. 20%. Let's look at 2020 just for fun. So 2020 at this time, home prices were up 12%. So they went from 2019, let's say 2019 this time, home prices actually decreased 1%. Fast forward 1 year, home prices were up 12% year over year. And then in 2021, they were up 20% in one single year. Now that ratio, or that gain, is only 7%. Wow, that is pretty crazy. Let's have a look at San Francisco, California, though, because there's going to be some very big differences compared to these other cities here. All right, so new listings in San Francisco, California. San Fran, look at this. Wow, look at that. So new listings are actually down 23.4%, a giant decrease really ever since June of this year. Basically far less than 2021. So new listings are down 23% in San Fran. Let's look at pending home sales. Pendings have been increasing really ever since May of this year. But we're still down compared to 2021, down 16% compared to 2021. So new listings are down, and also pending home sales are also down compared to 2021. Let's look at active listings though. Active listings are up 10.33% from 2021. We have 2,500 houses for sale in San Francisco compared to about 2,200 in 2021. And in 2019, we had approximately 1,800 houses for sale. So active listings are up 10% from 2021. Not a big change there. Let's look at price drops though. So price drops in San Fran. Wow, look at that. So 4.8%, a very low share compared to these other cities though, but far higher compared to the last couple of years here, or at least 2021, 2019. At this time in 2021, the ratio was 2.8%. So they have a little bit less than double the share of price drops in San Francisco right now, at least compared to 2021. And because housing supply is up 10% from this time in 2021, let's look at the total number of houses that actually have sold. Homes sold are down. Look at that. Wow. Look at that. Wow. So the number of houses sold in San Francisco down 27% compared to 2021. So this, coupled with the fact that pending home sales are down compared to 2021, is why they're seeing an increase of active listings. In other words, home buying demand decreasing, which is causing housing supply to increase. So let's have a look at the average sale to list price ratio to see how this compares to other areas here. Look at this. Okay, so the average sale to list price ratio is basically 105%. So on average, home sellers selling their houses in San Francisco for about 5% more than an asking price, which is completely normal because it's very normal for whatever reason for houses to be listed for sale far less than what they feel the house is going to sell for. So if a house is going to sell for about $3 million, it wouldn't be uncommon for a house to be listed for sale for about $2.5 million, $2.75 million. So this is very common. And you actually can see this here because in 2019, there wasn't any single month where the ratio was less than 102%. So on average, home sellers selling their houses for far more than their asking price. That's just because home sellers were listing their houses for so much less than market value. So that's very common in San Francisco. But right now, the ratio at 105% is obviously far less in 2019 and also in 2021. In 2021 at this time, the ratio was 9% over the asking price. Now it's basically 5% over. But to me, this is not the biggest takeaway here because I was actually just noticed this, but the ratio right now, 105%. Back in April this year, the ratio was 113%. So home sellers selling their houses for 13% more than an asking price. Now it's only 5%. Okay, let's have a look at home prices in San Fran right now. The median asking price right now, let's take a wow, look at that, going down. That's pretty remarkable. So right now, the median asking price is only increased by 3.14% from the same time period in 2021. In 2021, at this time, they only had a 0.6% increase in home prices. Let's look at home sold prices though, to take a look at that. So, wow, that's crazy. So back in the middle of May, the median asking price was basically $1.7 million, but now it is only $1.5 million. That's a $200,000 decrease ever since May. That's pretty crazy. Again, this is only based on houses that actually have sold, but pretty crazy. So 9% increase at this time right there, but only, wow, look at that, but down 4% from the same time period in 2021. I actually didn't notice that. So right now, the median sold price is actually less right now compared to 2021, because at this time in 2021, the median sold price was 1.611 million. Now it's only 1.529 million. This is actually the only city that I actually have seen where home prices are actually down compared to 2021. And it's really happened during the 4 weeks ending July 3rd of this year. So home prices have been decreasing really ever since then, below 2021's levels. Anyways, pretty remarkable because San Francisco has seen a much different housing market compared to these other markets we talked about today. So hope you guys got a lot of value out of today's video. And of course, if you did, then please hit the like button. I really appreciate that. Hope you guys have an awesome day and look forward to seeing you on the next video.